Hello, my fellow YouTubers. Hope you're all doing well. It's a beautiful day out here. This is a video I made because I couple of pointers I couldn't cover in the earlier video on cholesterol mythbuster. So this is a part two in a way of cholesterol mythbuster. So if you look at our dietary fat, right, the food that we eat and the fat that it contains, it is basically after digestion in our small intestine by the bile acids. You will have long-term short chain fatty acids and medium chain fatty acids. So three different types of fatty acids. These are all saturated fatty acids: um, long chain, short chain, medium chain. So long chain fatty acids are the ones that are actually collected in a chylomicron, right? Transporter. It's a lipid transporter. It's like a bus, right? As fats are greasy and they cannot dissolve in blood, as a result, our body has a smart mechanism to transport these fats and lipids to various tissues. The lifetime of a chylomicron is only 30 minutes. Now, I also mentioned about the fat that your body generates, which is liver, generates fats, and that is transported through VLDL, LDL, and then eventually your HDL will bring all the cholesterol back into the liver. So if you remember, the lifetime of VLDL is a couple of hours, 3 to 4 hours, and the lifetime of LDL is couple of days, 2 to 3 days, and HDL is 5 days, even more. So, so again, chylomicron 30 minutes, VLDL couple of hours, and LDL is couple of days, and HDL is probably a week, right? The reason I want to talk about this is, as I mentioned, your dietary fat is transported through chylomicron, whereas the saturated fat, your body makes fat, and through excess carbohydrates that converts to fats through de novo lipogenesis. That fat is transported through a VLDL, which is again lipid transporter. It's like a bus. It not only contains cholesterol, triglycerides, phospholipids, and all the fat soluble vitamins in it, CoQ10, whatnot, right? But VLDL is predominantly heavy in triglycerides. 90% of VLDL is triglycerides, and then as it deposits these triglycerides into tissues and consumed by beta oxidation for energy, the size of the VLDL drops to LDL, which is small molecule. Uh, Again, the LDL has a high concentration of cholesterol, right? So we talk about LDL in a bad connotation, but it is not. But the reason it got bad connotation is cholesterol. Cholesterol is a predominant component in LDL, and that's why it got a bad connotation. But otherwise, it is not. It is, as I mentioned, if you look at my previous video, cholesterol is very useful for our body, and body uses in many fashions. It is a primary precursor to all the hormones. Cell membranes are made of cholesterol. Vitamin D is made up of cholesterol. Your 50% of your fat in your brain is made up of cholesterol. So as you can see, I mentioned about the lifetime of chylomicron, VLDL, LDL, right? If you look at the blood test, what do you see? Typically, you see VLDL, LDL, HDL. You will not see chylomicron. The reason being, when you're doing a fasting and you do a blood test, typically what you see is these three molecules, VLDL, LDL, HDL. You will not see chylomicron because it's short-lived and it is only initiated by the trigger of the food you take. So all the food, the digested fat is already deposited in your fat tissues, right? It is not available in the blood. But when you do the blood test, you see VLDL, LDL. And where is this coming from? Liver made these fats, right? Liver made these fats because of excess carbohydrates. It doesn't think that your blood should have that much sugar, so it converts quickly into fat. So VLDL is equal to triglycerides is equal to excess carbohydrates. LDL is equal to cholesterol is equal to cholesterol made by your own body, not the dietary cholesterol. Okay, I just want to clarify this. Henceforth, when you see these triglycerides in your blood tests, think about this: how much amount of carbohydrates you're consuming. So that is a direct reflection of amount of carbohydrates you're taking. And also the other thing is, it is very well known, people who died of heart attack, their cholesterol levels are low. Even though cholesterol is there, again, it is a immune function that actually deposited those cholesterol in the atherosclerosis, or the bad endothelial cells, which are broken by glycocalyx or glycation, right? And then cholesterol is there to heal. So that there ends the cholesterol mythbuster. So I also have people ask me talk about the saturated fats and various fats, how we consume. So in general, when you compare all the macronutrients, the two energy substrates are carbohydrates, fats, and protein is a kind of energy, but it is mostly used for body structure, building the body structure and hormones and cell membranes, whatnot, right? But it is predominantly used to build. It is like a brick. It's like a bricks. When you build a building, you need these bricks to build a structure. Similarly, protein amino acids are the bricks, right, to build your body structure. Now, of the two energy substrates, carbohydrates and fats, fat is a long-term energy storage, and carbohydrates are short-term energy storage. And it is stored. Carbohydrates are stored as a glycogen, and fats are stored as a triglycerides in our body, in the adipose tissue, visceral or fatty liver, in our fat, right? So let's talk about, there are different types of fats: saturated fat, monounsaturated fat, polyunsaturated fat. And these fats are distinguished by amount of saturation of the fat, right? What does that mean? So saturated fat, it has no double bonds. That means they are tightly coupled between carbons and hydrogens. As a result, when you see a saturated fat, like for example, ghee, lard, tallow, coconut, oil, these and butter, these are all solid in state in a room temperature. They are very solid, they are saturated and very stable, right? Our body needs this saturated fat and it is very healthy. And there are monounsaturated fat, polyunsaturated fat, both are liquid in room temperature. I'll talk more about those a little later. Now, within the saturated fat, you have long chain fatty acids, short term fatty acids, and medium chain fatty acids, right? So source of long chain fatty acids is predominantly meat, right? Fish, eggs, all kinds of meat animals, right? And you also have medium chain fatty acids. These are available in coconut and goat milk. And short chain fatty acids is something you are not going to consume it. It's actually your body makes it within your gut when you eat fiber and some fermented food. Your bacteria within your gut makes the short chain fatty acids. Now, let's talk about how these three different saturated fats are used. Long, long chain fatty acids are actually carried in the chylomicron to different tissues through thoracic duct, right? Whereas medium chain, short chain fatty acids directly goes to the liver through portal vein, right? And they are used to consume to generate energy. They are not used to store as a fat in our body. Immediately you can consume energy. That's why you have these MCT oils made up of coconut. You can actually swallow it, get energy. So so medium chain, short chain fatty acids are mostly consumed and burnt, and your body does a beta oxidation. If you do excess consumption of these short chain and medium chain, your body converts those excess fats into ketones. And ketones is a topic that I'm going to talk more about it in my next video session. It's really, ketones is something your body prefers, while and brain especially, your brain consumes both glucose and ketones. And blood is another thing. Blood cells doesn't have mitochondria, so it uses mostly glucose and ketones. And entire body cells leverage ketones, and ketones is a very efficient energy. If I compare glucose to ketones, you know glucose is a cheap energy. Ketones is a very efficient and very. It's like an electric energy versus gasoline, right? gasoline burns and then it causes a lot of environmental issues, whereas electrical energy is a clean energy, so is a ketone energy, right? So I'm going to talk more about that in the later in next video. Now we talked about long chain, medium chain, short chain fatty acids. Long chain fatty acids are deposited in our fat, and they are the ones that actually deposited in our adipose tissue, right? And whereas medium chain, short chain fatty acids directly go to the liver converts them to ketones and then pushes that energy to all the cells of a body, they consume it. Now let's talk about that is saturated fats, and it is very important. And as I said, it is solid in room temperature. Our body needs saturated fat. Now, monounsaturated fats. Monounsaturated fats are predominantly, extra virgin olive oil, avocado oil, macadamia nuts, and all these nut oils. They're all monounsaturated fatty. What is monounsaturated fats? Is there is a single double bond between carbon molecules, right? It is good and it is not heterogenic, and it doesn't cause inflammation. Usually the more double bonds you have, they are prone for damage, prone for inflammation, right? So since it has a one single double bond, it doesn't get inflamed that easily. It does, but it doesn't get as polyunsaturated fat, which which I'll talk in a couple of minutes. So monounsaturated fat, again, it is consumed when you consume these oils. The body uses that in your adipose tissue to deposit in your adipose tissue and then used as a energy. All these fats, either they are stored as for future use of energy, right? Becomes free fatty acids, and then they can be beta oxidized, right? Immediately used to generate energy, which is done through your liver through Krebs cycle process, and you get 26, actually 109 ATP molecules when your liver burns fats. It is much more than glycolysis when it burns glucose. Um, so so the so monounsaturated fats are really healthy, like saturated fats, and sources of monounsaturated fats are olive oil, avocado oil, macadamia oil. And your body converts saturated fat to monounsaturated fat depending on the needs of it. If the cell membranes need some fluidity, some kind of a looseness in that fat, it will convert the saturated fat to monounsaturated fat. Monounsaturated fat sometimes can be in a liquid form in a room temperature, and as the temperature reduces, it becomes solid. Like coconut oil is a perfect example. Yeah, polyunsaturated fats, as the name indicates, is a multiple double bonds within the carbon molecules. And as a result, they are very flexible and also prone for inflammation. Examples of polyunsaturated fats are omega-3, omega-6, omega-9, and all the seed and vegetable oils are all made up of polyunsaturated fats. And they easily get inflamed. For example, if you fry seed oils like canola oil, sunflower oil, at a high temperature, they become trans fats and they are very atherogenic. So, but omega-3 comes into poly, but it has a protection mechanism through omega-3 also comes with vitamin E, which is an antioxidant. It protects the omega-3 fats. As a result, it's really good for our body. So, of all the fats, essential fats are omega-3 fats such as EPA, DHA, ALA. And DHA and EPA, docosahexaenoic acid, and EPA is eicosapentaenoic acid, and ALA is alpha linoleic acid. ALA comes through your seeds, such as chia seeds and flax seeds. But the amount of fats you consume through these seeds, omega-3, is very less, probably 1 to 2%. That's why it is not a good source of omega-3, whereas animal omega-3 fats that is available in fish and seafood and all that, you get a high percentage of omega-3 fats. Henceforth, it is advisable to consume animal fat for omega-3s, right? Especially fish oil. Now, so folks, that's pretty much it on the topic of fats and cholesterol mythbuster. Hope you enjoyed this topic. Hope you gain insights, and try to control your carbs, prioritize protein, feel free in eating fats. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.